traders, welcome. So what sort of trading hardware do you need if you're going to start trading? Now this obviously depends on the type of trader you are. If you are somebody who makes 1 or 2 trades a year, then you're probably going to get away with a mobile phone. That's probably going to do you absolutely fine because you're going to be able to log on, check your prices and go home and use just a normal computer to do your analysis. However, if you're taking trading a bit more seriously, perhaps you're a bit more of an active swing trader, perhaps you're a day trader, you're going to want to invest in some hardware that makes your life easier. Just like any kind of skill out there, somebody doing a mechanic, a surgeon, whatever, we've got 2 extremes of profession there. They both need tools to do the job, and it's the same with the trader. You can get away with a kind of normal PC and a phone to check your prices or a phone to call your broker. If that's what you're doing and you're investing longer term, you don't need all the information. But if you're doing a little bit more active, you're going to want a bit more of a more powerful setup. Okay, so what's advised and what's recommended? Well, do you know, if I'm looking from a day trader's perspective, I have been through phases of, 10 years ago or so, I would have a bank of 12 screens in the office, and the trader opposite me would have exactly the same, and we'd have a big plasma up on the wall. And that was needed really because some of the platforms and some of the packages and charting stuff weren't that good. They're okay, but you kind of had to have each individual chart on each individual screen. So if you were trading one instrument, you needed to have a separate screen completely filled with one chart, a separate screen with another chart. Whereas now, most of the packages out there, the brokerage packages, the standalone charting packages, the analysis browsers and stuff, you can split them up quite easily into having 4 on a window very easily. You can have tabbed things, you can have pop-out windows, pop-out tickets. Like an inter-trader, you can pop out your chart, pop out your ticket. So you have a lot more kind of flexibility in terms of using up your screen real estate. So you don't necessarily need to have a kind of bank of 8 or 12 monitors anymore. However, having multiple screens is really advantageous. Even if you're swing trading, even if you're day trading, in fact, even if you're just doing analysis for investments for longer term, I'd recommend at least having 2 screens, because you can just drag things over to your next screen, put them out the way whilst keeping them there, save you having to bring up browsers and look through tabs, save you having to bring up stuff. It kind of really helps. And if you're day trading, 2 screens as well, perfect, because you can put your kind of longer term charts or things that you need to make your decisions, and then your execution screen in front of you. So just having that extra screen is so useful. If you want to go a little bit bigger, you can go for something like 4 screens, have a quad system, 4 screens on a stand, 2 below, 2 above. Kind of a little bit like this picture, but you can imagine and just chop that in half. But that's not a bad setup as well. It gives you much more visual real estate to work with. You can have your order entry on one of the screens. You can perhaps have news and higher time frames there. You can have other markets that you're looking at for entries, alerts set up on one screen like gold, oil, some stocks. You can kind of use it a little bit more to your advantage, and then flick through and use the functionality of some of the software you're using, the tabs and stuff, to as and when you need it. So perhaps you're analyzing on a daily perspective, and then you flick a tab and it'll bring you over to a 15-minute, whatever it may be. So going to 4, I don't think you need more than 4 unless you're using a specific strategy that does require that. Some people out there using a strategy that requires that, and you can have 4, 8, 12. You have to monitor them, you want to be able to see them all at one time. Fair enough, that's obviously, it suits the strategy you're doing. But I think for most people, 2 screens or 4 screens is more than adequate. So if you're going to have 2 screens, you can get away with just having 2 side by side on their own stand. They do double stands out there, but you don't really need them unless you want them above each other. But most people just want them side by side, in which case you can stand them pretty easily on their own stand that comes with a monitor. If you don't want that and you want it kind of on a central pole, then you can get a double stand if you really wanted to do that. If you're having a quad system, then you would get a stand that would have 2 below, 2 above. They're getting much cheaper now, and in fact I'm going to flick over to some of the suppliers, and we'll have a look in a moment and see how cheap they are. When I bought them, mine, they were very, very expensive years ago. Now you can get them for less than £100. So if you're going that way, and all you do is you take the stand off the back of your monitor that comes with it, and you've got 4 screws. I'm not sure what they're called. It's like a standardized faceplate. Leave a comment below if you know what that's called. A standardized faceplate that just plugs, literally screws straight onto the back of your stand, and you can have your 4 screens set up very nicely. Obviously, be careful that you get a stand that's suitable for the size of screens. If you're going like 28-inch or 32-inch, you might struggle to get 4 of those on. Just make sure, a little tip there, if you're buying a quad stand, that they do fit the screens that you intend to put on them. The other thing I've got here, guys, is, I mean, it's pretty obvious, but a powerful PC. I always recommend to buy the most powerful PC you can afford, because it means you're going to have to change it less frequently. As we get more data coming in, as you can do more things, you might want to do some back testing, you might want to do some analysis on stuff, you might want to run multiple things at one time, you might want to record your screen for your own personal review, that kind of stuff. As software improves, you want the most powerful PC you can. So, my recommendation is always, don't go crazy with it by any means, but you always get to a level where you can get a lot for your money. Then when you sort of go crazy money, you don't get that much more. It's always that little sweet spot, isn't there, with technology? It's kind of the same with phones and with anything like TVs. You can get a really nice TV, and then you can just go crazy in money and get something that's a bit better, but not that much better. So the best PC you can have, obviously make sure it can handle 4 screens. If you've got 4 screens or 2 screens, pretty much most machines now have ability to have 2 screens without any problems. Even laptops have a second display output, if not 3 and 4, if you've got a MacBook. And then connectivity and redundancy. So very quickly, my point on those is connectivity. You want to have a decent broadband connection. Obviously, again, the most expensive, or not the most expensive, or the best you can afford. If you've got fibre, it's not that expensive in the scheme of things. If you're trading to make some decent money, an extra £20-30 a month for a fibre connection isn't that much, and it just assures that you've got that steady flow. It's not necessarily, I think now, depending on where you live, of course, I know some people out in the countryside are getting really poor connections still, which is unfortunate, but at the end of the day, if you're within sort of range of a city, then you're going to get a decent connection for not much money. However, a good thing to think about is to have a backup in terms of connectivity, and a phone is a perfect backup. You can tether up your computer via a Wi-Fi, use your phone as a kind of connectivity port, if you like. Select the 4G or 3G on this, and then you can use that in emergency and just tether it up to your computer so you can download all your data that you need. Not ideal for trading on permanently unless you're just scanning and swing trading, of course, and that's absolutely fine. But also make sure as well that your data, you haven't got, you're not going over your data plan, but it's great as a backup. And also it will work if you've got a laptop and the power is cut. We're on redundancy now. If you get a power cut, obviously your desktop's going to go down, your monitor's going to go down. If you've got a laptop that's got enough battery on it, obviously you can't use your router because that's connected to the power, but you can still tether up to your phone, so you can go fully without power, connect your laptop, tether it up to your phone, use your phone on the 4G or 3G, and then offset your positions, close your positions, put your stops in, whatever, if you get a power cut. Fortunately, we don't have many power cuts in the UK. But who knows, you could be sitting there with a big position and someone digging outside puts his digger through the power cable and you're stuffed. So redundancy, that always recommend some sort of kind of backup. Backing up your PC all the time makes sense to the cloud or to some sort of backup software or to a secondary hard drive. And then things like having a phone that's charged up with your account number written down and the number of your broker, so that if all else fails, you can ring up and say, hey, get me out of this position, I don't want to be in it, I've got a problem with my PC, I don't want to be stuck holding this position. And when all else fails, that's kind of the last chance that you've got to clear off the risk. So there are loads of other things you can do, but obviously it depends how how in depth you want to get into it and what sort of things you're doing. If you're running algos and stuff, you're obviously going to have server side things which are a lot more different. But for the majority of us who are trading currencies, indices, commodities, stocks and stuff on a kind of day trading to swing trading perspective, 2 screens, decent PC, bit of a backup, decent fibre connection or decent broadband connection, doesn't even need to be fibre, decent backup on your phone, things written down that you need to write down, and you're probably going to be okay if things get wiped out. Anyway, leave comments below what you think about that, how your setup is, and if you've got any links to your screens and setups, then that'll be pretty cool as well. Always interested to see what other people have out there. And if you like the video, give it a thumbs up, and don't forget to subscribe, and we'll be back with another video soon. Take care.